What you are about to encounter exists in a liminal space, a twilight zone, between the secrets that have been kept from you and the truths you have always known in your bones. There is a specific reason this wisdom has remained veiled for so long. It was never about the knowledge being locked away in some inaccessible vault. Rather, it was about your own energetic capacity to hold it. Until this very moment, you were simply not ready. But now, the frequency has shifted. You are consciousness waking up to experience itself through form. And that realization changes the architecture of everything. Long before we carved up our reality with the sharp edges of language, separating this from that, there were those who understood the fundamental nature of existence. They knew that reality is not a rigid cage you are trapped inside. It is a living, breathing field of awareness that is constantly responding to itself through you. These ancient seers did not write instruction manuals. They didn't build rigid systems or dogmas. They spoke in whispers, in metaphors, and in stories designed to point your attention beyond the physical world toward a power woven into the very fabric of what you call awareness. You stand at that threshold right now. You are not here to collect more data. You are here to remember what has always been true. What you have been taught to call the law of attraction is not some superficial self-help trick you use to acquire material objects. It is the fundamental heartbeat of reality. It is the invisible rhythm where pure consciousness collapses into physical form. It moves through every atom like a hidden current of electricity, carrying the blueprint of every potential future. Every thought you think sends a ripple across this infinite quantum field. Every emotion you feel acts as a chisel, sculpting the shape of what appears next in your hologram of life. What follows is not written on a page. It is encoded in your DNA. Every concept we explore is an initiation, a frequency shift designed to align you with the deeper mechanics of how existence actually functions. Consider a quiet town where the morning light washes over cobblestone streets. Here, a woman named Evelyn stands before an antique mirror. Every single day, she recites affirmations of wealth and purpose, yet she feels hollow. Her visions of a better life remain like distant stars, visible but cold and unreachable. One morning, as she presses her hands against the cool glass, a fracture suddenly splits the surface. In that moment of brokenness, a profound realization clicks into place. The crack wasn't in the mirror, it was in her perception. The universe operates on an unbreakable law. Your external reality does not reflect what you say, it reflects what you vibrate. You see, the mirror of life does not respond to your statements, it responds to your state. When your mouth declares, "I am abundant," but your nervous system whispers, "I am not safe," reality has no choice but to amplify the fear, because that is the stronger signal. Evelyn's transformation didn't happen because she found better words. It happened when she stopped trying to force the reflection to change and started altering the source of the image. She moved from reciting hollow words to generating the visceral feeling of the reality she desired. And just like that, the mirror stopped showing her what was lacking and began revealing who she was becoming. Think of a bird crashing into a crystal-clear window, exhausting itself trying to reach the sky it sees on the other side. The window's clarity is the trap. This is how our most sincere intentions can imprison us when we don't understand the medium we are navigating. We try to force our way through, not realizing that the path forward isn't about applying more pressure, but about shifting the lens through which we perceive. Reality is a precise feedback loop, showing you the sum total of your beliefs with mathematical accuracy. The power is never in trying to change the reflection on the glass. The power lies in becoming the version of yourself you want to see looking back at you. Tonight, as darkness wraps the world, lie in stillness. Do not look into a physical mirror, but into the mirror of the void. See the reflection of your fulfilled desire glowing back at you. Hold that image as you drift into sleep, knowing that tomorrow is being forged in the furnace of your vision tonight. There is a frequency that hums beneath the noise of human language, a vibration that dictates the script of your life far more than the words you speak. Consider the story of Henry, a seeker who stood at his window every morning as the sun broke over the horizon. With a voice full of conviction, he shouted declarations of prosperity and love into the dawn air. His words were perfect, curated from the best teachings, flawless in their construction. And yet, his world remained stagnant, silent, and cold. It was as if the universe was deaf to his pleas, but the universe is not deaf. It is simply not listening to your vocabulary. It is listening to your broadcast. The cosmos, in its infinite intelligence, does not care about the poetry you recite. It cares about the music you are. Your mind can speak one language: assertive, confident, demanding, while your emotional body is broadcasting a signal of desperate isolation. This creates a vibrational interference pattern, a contradiction that the quantum field cannot resolve in your favor. When Henry spoke of wealth, his stomach tightened with the biological memory of poverty. When he demanded love, his chest collapsed under the weight of loneliness. His words floated up, but his energy dragged him down. This is the spiritual standstill that traps so many. You must understand this fundamental principle. You are a musical instrument, and the universe is the audience. You cannot simply memorize the lyrics to a song of abundance. You must tune your strings. Your emotions are those strings. When struck, they send waves into the cosmic field of creation. Imagine an old radio in a monastery high in the mountains. A young monk spends days trying to find a clear signal. Between stations, there is only static, a buzzing, chaotic noise. One channel is filled with anxiety, the other is crystal clear with wisdom. No matter how perfectly the monk chants his mantras, if the radio is tuned to static, the message will not come through. He had to learn that the interference wasn't in the sky, it was in the receiver. Only when he settled his own heart into peace did the static clear, allowing the transmission to be heard. You are that radio. You must align your emotional frequency with the reality you are describing. When fear generates static in your vibration, your most powerful affirmations are swallowed by the noise. But when your feelings harmonize with your words, when the signal is coherent, reality has no option but to reflect that clarity. Try this. Sit in a space where the world cannot find you. Take 3 slow breaths and drop your awareness out of your head and into your body. Speak your name slowly. Feel the sound vibrate in your chest, not just your throat. Feel the difference between speaking from your intellect and speaking from your core. That sensation of alignment is your compass. In a crowded marketplace, a woman named Clara moved from stall to stall, buying crystals and charms, convinced these objects would bring her fortune. She arrived at a quiet tea house where an old woman poured tea with a grace that seemed to suspend time. "You are looking for many laws," the old woman said, "but there is only one: awareness." The tea steamed between them as the old woman dismantled Clara's belief system. Whatever you truly recognize as real must appear in your experience. Belief is not a filter, it is the architecture. This is the core of every metaphysical truth. Recognition creates experience. Deep in the eastern mountains, there is a stream where children play. A girl named Maya crosses this stream differently than the others. While they calculate every step, fearing the cold water, Maya walks with a terrifying, serene certainty. Her foot lands, and the stones seem to rise to meet her. To the observer, it looks like magic, but Maya isn't walking on faith. She is walking on knowing. Her awareness is so perfectly aligned with the reality of safe passage that the universe rearranges itself to support her step. This is how consciousness creates. It is not passive observation, it is active participation. When you realize that awareness itself is the creative force, you stop needing the charms. You realize the power was never in the tool. It was in the shift of awareness the tool helped you achieve. In the center of a sprawling metropolis where the rhythm of ambition beats like a frantic drum, a woman named Vera stood in a corner office surrounded by glass and steel. She had everything society told her to want. Her resume was a checklist of conquered goals. And yet, with every achievement, the silence inside her grew louder. The satisfaction was fleeting, like a sugar rush that leaves you crashing moments later. Peace felt like a foreign country she could not find on a map. What Vera didn't understand, what most people miss, is that the universe speaks to us through the visceral language of feeling, not the logical language of societal milestones. Your emotions are not random biological reactions to your environment. They are divine intelligence signaling your location on the map of destiny. They are a guidance system more sophisticated than any technology. When you feel a surge of joy, a flutter of excitement, or a deep, settling peace. You are receiving a ping from your higher self confirming that you are on the trajectory of your soul's purpose. Conversely, when anxiety, heaviness, or a gnawing emptiness arises, these are not punishments, they are course corrections. They are the universe lovingly grabbing your shoulder to say, not this way. Imagine your emotional state is a sacred compass. In a remote mountain range, a traveler named Alexandra carried a compass she thought was broken because it spun wildly whenever she walked the well-trodden paths others insisted she take. She ignored it for years, forcing herself down routes that left her exhausted. One morning, under the violet light of dawn, she stopped fighting. She realized the compass wasn't pointing to magnetic north. It was pointing to her specific true north. As soon as she stepped off the conventional path and toward the wild unknown that called to her, the needle steadied. Your feelings work exactly the same way. When you feel contracted, small, or resistant, you have wandered off your unique frequency. When you feel expansive, light, and open, you are walking in alignment with the wisdom that spun the galaxies. The practice is simple but profound. Before the world rushes in to claim your attention, pause. Place a hand on your heart and ask, do I feel open or closed? Follow the openness, even if it contradicts logic. That feeling is the universe leading you home. This leads us to the nature of desire itself. In a small cottage at the edge of a dense forest, Ruthie spent her life serving everyone but herself. Whenever a desire for something more, adventure, creativity, abundance, flickered in her chest, she snuffed it out, labeling it selfish or unspiritual. But desires are not errors. They are not greedy impulses of the ego. They are the universe knocking on the door of your consciousness, asking to be let in. When you feel a yearning, you are feeling the evolutionary impulse of creation seeking to express itself through you. Just as the ocean produces waves, the infinite produces desires within you as a method of expansion. The desire isn't separate from the power that created it. It is the same force. When you deny your desire, you are pinching off the flow of life itself. Consider a seed buried deep beneath layers of decaying leaves in an ancient cedar forest. It does not question its longing for the sun. It does not analyze whether it is worthy of the light. The desire to grow is its destiny speaking. That longing sustains it through the cold dark, guiding it upward until it breaks the surface. Your dreams are that seed. They contain the blueprint of your becoming. The universe plants these dreams in your heart as surely as it plants oaks in the earth. Your only job is to stop judging them and start nurturing them. Trust that the wisdom guiding the seasons is also guiding the longing in your soul. There is a subtle art to receiving that requires the death of the part of you that loves to struggle. In a chaotic market square, Louisa clutches her manifestation journal like a weapon. She has charts, timelines, and detailed lists. Every morning is a battle to measure her progress against her rigid expectations. The harder she tries to micromanage the universe, the more her desires slip through her fingers like dry sand. She is caught in the trap of linear cause and effect, but the quantum field is a web of infinite connection. When you try to orchestrate every minute detail of how your dream will arrive, you generate resistance. You create a vibrational friction that repels the very thing you want. This friction stems from a deep-seated belief that creation requires suffering and that control is the only safety. But the law of attraction does not respond to your to-do list. It responds to your energetic signature. When you are tangled in anxiety and over-planning, you are broadcasting a signal of lack. You are telling the field, I do not trust the intelligence of life. This distrust builds a wall between you and your creation. You must learn to view your manifestations as already complete in the quantum realm. Your role is not to force them into the 3D world. It is to provide the path of least resistance for them to land. On the shores of a timeless sea, an old fisherman named Xavier spent his days straining against the waves, pulling his nets with desperate strength. His muscles burned, but his nets came up empty. The fish seemed to sense his desperation and fled. One morning, too exhausted to fight, he simply let go. He allowed his net to drift with the current. To his shock, as the net moved with the water rather than against it, it filled with fish. The surrender wasn't a defeat, it was an alignment. The fish were always there. His struggle was the only thing keeping them away. This is the paradox of power. What you seek is seeking you. When you release the stranglehold on how and when, you open a vacuum that the universe rushes to fill. This is not passive waiting, it is active allowing. It is a state of alert receptivity where you are clear on the what, but flexible on the how. Look at a flower. It does not strain to bloom. It turns toward the sun and opens. Its growth is assured by natural law. Your life can flow with this same organic grace if you dare to trust the process. This trust opens the door to sacred imagination. In a sun-dappled garden, Nora sits with colored pencils. She isn't just sketching, she is breathing life into a new timeline. With every stroke of color, she feels the reality of the home she is drawing, the salt air, the light, the peace. She isn't drawing to get it, she is drawing to be in it. As she creates, the image begins to pulse with energy. This reveals a secret. Imagination is the bridge between formless potential and solid reality. Most people daydream casually, but that is like a spark without fuel. Sacred imagination is purposeful. It is the act of holding an image in the mind until it becomes a magnetic template in the quantum field. In the ancient city of Kashan, a young architect named Hassan dreamed of palaces that did not yet exist. While others mocked his idle fancy, he spent his nights walking the halls of his imaginary structures. He felt the cold marble on his bare feet. He heard the water in the fountains. He didn't imagine the palace as something out there that he lacked. He lived in it internally. Years later, travelers marveled at the impossible beauty of the buildings he created, structures that matched stone for stone, the blueprint he had built in his mind. The unseen always precedes the seen. The physical world is just the final printout of a creative process that happens in the mind. You must inhabit your desire. Don't look at it, look from it. Feel the texture of the reality you want until your nervous system accepts it as truth. Let's talk about the quantum nature of gratitude, because most people are getting it wrong. High in the thinning air of the mountains, a woman named Beatrice sat with her journal every morning. She was diligent, dutifully writing down her blessings because she was told this was the price of admission for a better life. But with every line she wrote, her heart felt heavier, not lighter. The words were empty shells. This is the trap of performative gratitude. When you try to force yourself to feel thankful, you actually generate resistance to the very abundance you are trying to call in. True appreciation cannot be commanded like a soldier. It must flow like a river, finding its path downhill. The universe does not read your journal. It reads your frequency. When gratitude is authentic, it acts as a powerful attractor field, multiplying the essence of what you appreciate. But when it is forced, it creates a subtle contraction, a vibrational no that the universe interprets as lack. Consider the story of Sophia, a gifted musician whose melodies had lost their soul. She would tighten her strings until they screamed, desperate for perfection, but her music left the audience cold. One night, under a canopy of stars, she stopped trying to play and simply started humming in appreciation of the night sky. When she finally picked up her instrument, she didn't force the strings. She allowed the gratitude to guide her fingers. The music that poured out was transformative. She learned that harmony is not born of tension, but of appreciation. This is the secret. Gratitude is not a task to be completed. It is a frequency to be embodied. A single moment of genuine, heart-opening thanks for a glass of cold water carries more creative power than 1,000 pages of forced blessings. Tonight, instead of writing a list, recall one simple pleasure: the warmth of the sun, the sound of laughter, and whisper the word enough. Feel that word expand in your chest. That feeling is the key that unlocks the next level of your reality. Now, consider the invisible architecture of support that surrounds you. In the concrete canyons of a busy city, Hazel rushed through her life, carrying the weight of the world on her shoulders. "The universe doesn't care about me," she would mutter, convinced she was entirely alone. But then, the pattern broke. One morning, running late, every traffic light turned green as she approached. A stranger held a closing elevator door. A cancelled meeting opened the perfect window of time she desperately needed. These were not accidents. These were synchronicities, the language of universal support. There is a divine orchestration at play that is far beyond your human comprehension. It does not require your belief to function any more than gravity needs your permission to hold you to the earth. But when you acknowledge it, you join the dance. In a quiet valley, a master kite maker taught his apprentice this truth. The boy ran and pulled, trying to force the kite into the sky with sheer muscle. "You cannot see the wind," the master said, "but you can invite it to dance." The moment the boy relaxed his grip, the invisible currents caught the kite and lifted it effortlessly. You are that apprentice. The support you need is already flowing around you. Stop fighting the current and realize it has been moving in your favor all along. When you whisper, "Show me the easiest way," you are not asking for a favor. You are aligning your sails with the wind that is already blowing. We must understand that reality is fundamentally a relationship, specifically a reflection of the relationship you have with yourself. In a quiet village, Marjorie spent her days tending to the needs of everyone else, effectively erasing herself from the equation. She hurried past mirrors, avoiding her own gaze. When praise came her way, she deflected it, and so her world shrank. The universe operates on a law of perfect reflection. If you dismiss your own light, reality has no choice but to dim the lights around you. Marjorie's awakening happened in front of an antique mirror she was cleaning. She noticed that even though the silver was tarnished and scratched, it still caught the light. "Even worn, it reflects," she whispered. She realized she had to treat herself with the same care she gave to strangers. As she softened her inner dialogue, her outer reality softened in response. Opportunities that had previously ignored her began to knock at her door. Relationships that drained her were replaced by exchanges that nurtured her. Think of the monks in Tibet who use ancient tuning forks. When one monk strikes a fork, the identical fork across the room begins to hum without ever being touched. This is the physics of resonance. You are a tuning fork. The frequency of self-respect or self-neglect you hold within sets off a sympathetic vibration in the world around you. If you want the world to honor you, you must first strike the note of honor within yourself. Stand before your mirror tomorrow. Look into your own eyes and vow, "As I treat myself, so shall life treat me." This is not vanity. It is the calibration of your reality. This brings us to the dynamic of allowance versus force. An old merchant watched a young woman named Ivy frantically managing her textile stall. She was desperate, rearranging her goods, calling out to customers with a voice laced with panic. Her energy was a storm of desperation that pushed people away. The universe does not respond to force. It responds to flow. Abundance, like water, seeks the path of least resistance. The merchant told her, "The harder you chase, the faster it flees." When Ivy finally sat down, breathed, and released her death grip on the outcome, the energy shifted. Customers were drawn to the calm authenticity of her presence. You must learn that what you desire is already moving toward you. Your job is not to drag it into existence, but to stop blocking its arrival. Remember the monk who spent years trying to push open a heavy door, developing massive muscles but getting nowhere. One day, he collapsed against it in exhaustion, and the door swung open effortlessly. It was meant to be pulled, not pushed. How many doors are you pushing against right now that are waiting for you to simply step back and allow them to open? Sit with your palms open. Whisper, "I allow what aligns to find me." Move from the energy of the hunter to the energy of the magnet. There is a hierarchy to creation, and vibration always precedes vision. In the heart of a city, a man named Calvin stood over the masterpiece of his life, a scale model of a business empire. He had every detail mapped out, every spreadsheet calculated, every contingency planned. But month after month, his vision remained a plastic model, lifeless and small. Calvin was building a castle in the air because he had forgotten the foundation. He had the plan, but he didn't have the pulse. The universe speaks the language of vibration before it speaks the language of form. Your emotions are the raw materials, the bricks and mortar of your reality. An old master architect asked Calvin a question that shattered his paradigm. Where is the feeling of the spaces you wish to create? Calvin realized he had been operating from a place of intellectual strategy rather than emotional embodiment. He began to spend his mornings not looking at blueprints, but sitting in the feeling of success, the quiet confidence, the steady peace. As he tuned his frequency, the physical world began to organize itself around him. Contrast this with Maya, an artist in a small village. She never sketched. She sat before a blank canvas with her eyes closed, immersing herself in the emotion of the image waiting to be born. She didn't lift a brush until she was saturated with the feeling. Her art moved people to tears because she wasn't painting images, she was painting essences. Emotion is the engine. You must feel your way into the future. future. If you are visualizing a new car but feeling the knot of debt in your stomach, you are manifesting more debt. You must find the emotional texture of the wish fulfilled. And what of luck? Is it random? Along a winding mountain path, Sylvie watched travelers pass with gold in their pouches and wondered why the universe had forgotten her. She felt cursed, but an old merchant explained the mechanics of what she called luck. Fortune, he said, favors the aligned. Luck is simply the intersection where your inner conviction meets your outer preparation. Think of the rain. It falls on everyone. Some people complain about getting wet. Others have set out jars to collect the water. The rain does not choose the jar. The jar is prepared for the rain. In a distant valley, a farmer named Tao dug irrigation channels while the sky was still blue and the ground was dry. His neighbors mocked him, but when the rains finally came, Tao's fields drank every drop, while his neighbors watched the water run off their hard, unprepared soil. Synchronicity is not accidental. It is a response to your readiness. You don't chase luck. You become a conductor for it. Wake up and declare, good things are already on their way to meet my readiness. Prepare your vessel, and the rain will come. We live in a culture of instant gratification, but the universe operates on the organic timelines of nature. In the deep of night, Dorothy paced her room, consumed by impatience. She checked for signs of her manifestation like a nervous watchman. Every day that passed without her desire appearing felt like a betrayal. But impatience is not a sign of eagerness. It is a signal of doubt. It is the ego screaming that it does not trust the timing of the harvest. Manifestation follows the rhythm of spiritual ripening. You cannot force a fruit to be sweet before its time. If you rush the process, you interrupt the alchemy. Consider the village baker Thomas, who thought he could outsmart the laws of physics by doubling the heat of his oven to bake bread twice as fast. The result was not faster bread. It was a burnt crust with a raw, inedible center. An elder told him, "Heat hastens not wisdom." Your desires are the same. They have a gestation period. What you perceive as a delay is often divine protection, ensuring you don't receive your empire before you have the character to sustain it. When you feel the itch of impatience, place your hand on your heart and say, right timing is evidence of right unfolding. Trust that the bread is rising. Finally, let us speak of the alchemy of contrast. In a village nestled in the hills, June felt that her dreams were being shattered by constant setbacks. She saw every obstacle as proof that she was failing, but she was missing the point. Contrast, the experience of what you do not want, is the tool the universe uses to refine what you do want. The law of attraction responds to clarity, and nothing creates clarity like contrast. The master sculptor Alejandro spent years cursing the hardness of the marble he worked with. He wanted it to be soft like clay. But one morning, in the golden light of his workshop, he realized that the stone's resistance was exactly what allowed him to carve with such precision. The unyielding nature of the material forced his hands to be wise. The marble taught him the form. Your challenges are not enemies. They are the chisels of the master sculptor. Every no you hear is helping you define the perfect yes. Every closed door is steering you toward the open gate. The setbacks are not blocking your path. They are carving your capacity to hold the vision. This is the alchemy, turning the lead of disappointment into the gold of absolute clarity. When you hit a wall, whisper to yourself, this too refines the masterpiece called me. Deep in the shadows of a moonlit valley, a man named Harold sat in the crushing weight of recurring betrayal. He was trapped in a loop. Friends who turned into strangers, partners who broke vows, colleagues who stole credit. He believed he was cursed, a victim of bad luck. But an encounter with an ancient mystic shattered his victimhood with a terrifying truth. Nothing in this universe happens by accident. The pain was not random, it was agreed upon. You must understand the concept of the invisible contract. Before you took a breath in this physical dimension, your soul signed energetic agreements designed for your evolution. These contracts operate beneath the surface of your conscious mind, acting like magnets that pull in specific people and traumas to catalyze your growth. Harold wasn't unlucky. He was fulfilling a contract he had forgotten he signed. The betrayals were not punishments. They were teachers disguised as enemies, relentlessly repeating the lesson until he woke up. Imagine two dancers in the mountains of the east, moving in perfect synchronization under the moonlight, bound by an invisible choreography. They do not speak. Their bodies simply know the steps of the ancient ritual. Suddenly, One dancer stops. In that stillness, she realizes she is following a script she didn't write consciously. By recognizing the pattern, she becomes free to choose a new dance. You are that dancer. The recurring patterns in your life, the heartbreaks, the losses, will persist until you stop dancing blindly. You must recognize the contract. Ask yourself, what did I agree to learn through this pain? Did I sign up to learn self-worth through its absence? The moment you bring awareness to the contract, the chains dissolve. You can stand in the center of your room tonight, hand on heart, and declare, I release all unseen agreements that no longer teach through love. This principle of energetic agreements extends into the bloodstream of your survival. Money. In the winding streets of an old market, Irene clutched her coins with a death grip. Every transaction felt like a loss, a small death, and mysteriously, money fled from her. It slipped through her fingers like water. Why? Because money is not paper, it is conscious energy. It is a current that responds to your frequency. When you hoard it with fear, you act like a dam blocking a river. You create stagnation. Think of the sacred river in the high mountains. Villagers who approach it with gratitude, offering thanks, find their vessels overflowing with clear water. Those who approach with greedy demands find only mud. One wise woman approached the river not to take, but to thank it for its flow. The water swelled toward her joyfully. Currency loves to circulate. It delights in being trusted. When you pay a bill or buy a meal, do not contract in fear. Pause and whisper, circulation equals trust. Realign your agreement from one of scarcity to one of flow, and watch the river return to you. Let us navigate the treacherous waters of relationships, for this is where the law of resonance is most ruthless. In a bustling cafe, Milton sat across from yet another partner who was emotionally distant. He had a type, or so he thought. He chased beauty, success, and charm, but the dynamic was always the same. He gave, they took, and he was left empty. He wondered why the universe kept sending him the same person with a different face. The answer is brutal but liberating. You do not attract what you want. You attract what you are. Your relationships are not random collisions. They are precise mirrors reflecting your own vibrational frequency. Milton wasn't attracting unavailability by bad luck. He was attracting it because he was unavailable to himself. The law is mathematical. Wound calls to wound. Healing calls to healing. If you carry deep, unresolved unworthiness, you will magnetize someone who validates that unworthiness. It is not cruelty. It is resonance. Consider two tuning forks sitting on a table. If you strike one, the other will begin to vibrate perfectly in time, even without being touched. This is the physics of your heart. Your energy field is constantly singing a note, and the world is humming back in harmony. A humble watchmaker once tried to fix clocks that wouldn't keep time. He adjusted the gears and springs endlessly, but they were always erratic. He realized eventually that his own nervous anxiety was affecting the delicate mechanisms. Only when he found inner peace did the clocks tick in rhythm. If you want to change the time of your relationships, you must change the mechanic. You cannot find the right partner by searching externally if your internal tuning fork is set to the frequency of abandonment. Write a love letter to yourself. Pour all the cherishing you seek into those words. Calibrate your own frequency to love, and the universe will have no choice but to match it. This resonance requires consistency. In a seaside town, Pearl ran a bakery. She was a chaotic manifester. In the morning, she was radiant with optimism, certain of her success. By afternoon, shadows of doubt crept in, and she spiraled into fear. She was treating the quantum field like a light switch: on, off, on, off. The universe does not respond to intensity, it responds to consistency. A flickering signal creates static. Imagine a lighthouse keeper. One keeper polishes his lens obsessively, but only lights the lamp once a week. The ships crash. The second keeper maintains a modest but steady flame, burning through the fog every single night. The ships find their way home. You must be the second keeper. It is not about having a manic burst of high vibe energy. It is about the quiet, steady maintenance of your belief. When doubt creeps in, do not fight it. Simply act as the keeper of the flame. Gently trim the wick and say, I adjust my light to full again. A steady signal is the only one the universe can build a future upon. We are trapped in a linear illusion, constantly chasing a future that never arrives. In a frantic marketplace, Floyd rushed past blooming flowers and fragrant spices, his eyes fixed on a horizon he could not see. He treated the present moment like a waiting room, a nuisance to be endured until his real life began. But the ancient codes tell us this: creation knows only now. The future is not a place you go to, it is a reality you spin out of the present moment. When you live for tomorrow, you teach the universe to keep your joy perpetually one step ahead of you, always chasing, never catching. You are a weaver at a cosmic loom. You can only weave the thread that is currently in your hands. You cannot weave with yesterday's thread. It is cut. You cannot weave with tomorrow's thread. It hasn't been spun. The quantum field collapses into form only through the aperture of immediate awareness. There is a story of a gardener named Samuel who refused to water his bare soil. He stood over the dirt, visualizing a lush paradise, but refused to tend the earth until he saw proof of growth. Why water empty ground? He argued. His garden remained a desert. His neighbor Sophia blessed the empty soil. She poured water and love into the nothingness, fully present with the potential. Her garden exploded with life. You cannot manifest a new reality by rejecting the one you are standing in. You must water the now. Pause right here. Whisper, only this moment is real. Feel the frantic energy of getting there dissolve into the power of being here. This leads to the ultimate forbidden question: who is doing the manifesting? In a sunlit room, Winnie sat surrounded by vision boards, paralyzed by a philosophical knot. Was she the one creating, or was the universe? The answer is a paradox that dissolves the ego. Consciousness is creating itself. You are not a small, separate entity begging a sky god for favors. You are the localized expression of the infinite. You are both the dreamer and the dream. You are the painter and the canvas. You are the ocean and the wave. The separation is a trick of the light. In an ancient temple, a master lit a candle in the darkness. He then used that flame to light a second candle. Did the first flame diminish? He asked. No. Can you tell which flame belongs to which candle? No. The light is one. Your consciousness is not a fragment, it is the whole, experiencing a point of view. When you realize this, the desperation vanishes. You stop trying to make things happen and start allowing the universe to express through you. You are the vessel and the content. Sit before a candle tonight and realize the light and I are one flame. We have been conditioned to believe that struggle is a badge of honor, but in the quantum realm, effort is often a sign of misalignment. Oscar moved through the city with a checklist that ruled his life. He believed success was the child of strain. He pushed, pulled, and ground himself down until his body simply quit. Lying in the stillness of exhaustion, he learned the paradox of effort. The universe responds to flow, not force. Think of a door. If you are pushing against a door that opens inward, all your strength is useless. In fact, your strength is the very thing keeping it closed. You have to step back to let it open. Resistance is your compass. It tells you where you are forcing an angle that doesn't exist. Imagine two captains in a harbor. The first captain rows frantically against the wind, sweat pouring, muscles tearing. He moves inches. The second captain understands aerodynamics. He doesn't fight the wind. He adjusts his sails. With a subtle shift of the canvas, the same wind that fought the rower now propels the sailor. By the end of the day, the sailor has crossed the ocean with barely a callus on his hand. You are the captain. Are you rowing or sailing? Success is not about the force of your will. It is about the elegance of your alignment. When you feel tension, stop. Ask, what if I trusted the wind? Make the small adjustment toward ease. But how do we handle the people who disrupt our flow? In a coastal village, Daisy felt cursed by difficult personalities. A critical sister, a nosy neighbor, a demanding boss. They were the villains in her story. But an ancient text revealed the secret. Those who challenge you are your hidden teachers. They are not blocking your path. They are revealing your triggers. A master craftsman needs resistance to shape the metal. He uses both the soft cloth and the hard hammer. The people who trigger you are the hammer. They are showing you where you are still soft, where you are still reactive, where you have not yet claimed your sovereignty. There was a wise woman in the East who kept a mirror that showed nothing until someone breathed on it. The breath The immediate living presence revealed the reflection. The fog of conflict is what allows you to see yourself clearly. The colleague who questions you is teaching you conviction. The family member who doubts you is teaching you self-reliance. When you stop fighting them and start asking, "What are you teaching me?" the resistance melts. They transform from enemies into sacred allies in your evolution. Honor the lesson, and the teacher is free to go. We often view sleep as a pause button, a biological necessity where nothing happens. But for a man named Roscoe, sleep became the laboratory of his transformation. Roscoe spent years trying to muscle his way into a new reality through sheer daytime determination. He policed his thoughts, forced his vibrations high, and exhausted himself trying to fix his life while the sun was up. Yet, the breakthrough didn't come from his effort. It came when he surrendered to the night. The universe speaks the language of dreams with a fluency our waking minds cannot grasp. When your conscious mind finally releases its rigid grip on what is possible, the deeper intelligence takes over. Sleep is not merely rest. It is a sacred conversation between your spirit and the infinite. In that twilight realm, your beliefs are fluid, shifting like sand dunes in the wind, rearranging themselves to match your soul's blueprint rather than your ego's fears. Think of the midnight garden. Under the harsh glare of the noon sun, the flowers hold themselves tight, protective and closed. But as the silver moonlight washes over the leaves, the buds unfurl, drinking in a celestial nourishment that sunlight simply cannot provide. By the time dawn breaks, the garden has transformed, not through force, but through the gentle alchemy of the dark. Your consciousness is that garden. While you rest, universal forces are silently realigning your energy. Tonight, as you lay your head down, do not carry your struggles into the pillow. Whisper this instruction to the field: as I rest, my universe aligns in my favor. Let your sleep be the workshop where tomorrow is built. But what about the noise in your head while you are awake? In a monastery garden, a woman named Edna knelt on her cushion, frustration etched into her face. She was trying to meditate, which for her meant wrestling her mind into silence. Every thought was an enemy she tried to kill, and every attempt left her more agitated. An old monk watching her gestured for her to follow him to the bell tower. As the great bronze bells swayed, he revealed a secret. The music is not in the ringing. The music is in the space between the tones. Meditation is not an escape from reality. It is a rendezvous with the source. It is like a radio finding the static-free silence between two stations. That silence is not empty. It is pregnant with the seed of all creation. A musician named Sophia found this truth when she stopped obsessing over the notes and started playing the pauses. She realized the silence shaped the sound. You do not need to stop your thoughts. You only need to find the tiny gap between them. In that split second of no thought, you touch the infinite. Have you ever felt reality flicker? In a bustling ancient marketplace, a man named Grover paused mid-step, dizzy with a strange sensation. For a split second, the apples at the vendor's stand shifted from red to gold, then back again. Grover realized that the ground beneath his feet wasn't solid. It was a shifting sea of probabilities. The ancients knew that existence does not flow in a single rigid stream. It branches into infinite tributaries, parallel rivers of possibility flowing simultaneously. Every choice you make, every shift in frequency, opens a door to an alternate experience. The law of attraction isn't about forcing your current reality to change. It is about selecting which reality stream you are standing in. Consider Maya, a painter in a mountain studio. She didn't paint on just one canvas. She laid out multiple canvases on her floor, painting the same scene on each but with subtle variations, different lighting, different moods. Instead of trying to fix a painting she didn't like, she simply stepped physically to the canvas that resonated with her heart. This is reality selection. You are constantly navigating between parallel versions of Earth through the power of your attention. When you experience déjà vu, you are brushing against the veil between these timelines. Stop trying to fix the canvas you are standing on. Step sideways into the version of the now where your desire already exists. But how do we steer this ship? With the rudder of our words. In a seaside village, Lahi tended her garden with vinegar on her tongue. She complained about the weeds, cursed the soil, and moaned about the slow growth. An old woman told her, "Your words water these plants more than your can." Lahi was poisoning her own creation with her speech. Words are not just sounds that vanish into the air. They are vibrational codes. They ripple through the electromagnetic field, programming the matrix of your life. When you say, I am always tired. You are casting a spell. You are giving the universe a blueprint to build more fatigue. A teacher in the high mountains showed his students the echo of the valley. Those who shouted complaints heard their woes multiplied back to them. Your life is that valley. Every word you speak is a seed planted in the fertile soil of the quantum field. The universe has no choice but to grow what you plant. Stand facing the sun tomorrow and pronounce your day into being. I speak light into this day. I declare joy into manifestation. Let us uncover the hidden geometry of faith. In a forgotten valley, Silas knelt to pray every morning. To the naked eye, his words seemed to disappear into the void, but as he persisted, he began to see with his inner eye that his prayers were not vanishing, they were building. Like dewdrops arranging themselves on a spider's web, his consistent focus was creating a lattice of light. The universe creates through patterns. Your sustained thoughts are not random, they are architectural. Just as a crystal grows along invisible geometric lines, your reality crystallizes around the scaffolding of your beliefs. When you hold a vision steadily, you are establishing points of resonance in the field. These points connect to form a net that catches physical matter. Persistence isn't about begging God. It's about completing the geometry. High in the winter mountains, a mystic studied snowflakes. He saw how identical, perfect patterns emerged from formless vapor. First the unseen template, he said. Then the visible form. You are building the template right now. If you stop believing because you don't see results, you dissolve the scaffolding before the building is complete. Visualize golden threads weaving around your desire. Know that the structure is being assembled in the invisible realm. Finally, we must learn the art of the observer. Birdie sat in her high-rise apartment, drowning in anxiety. The pressure of the city felt like a physical weight, and her thoughts were a hurricane. In the moment she felt she might break, she discovered a trapdoor to freedom. She realized she could watch her thoughts instead of being them. Your mind is the sky. Your thoughts are just clouds. The sky is never damaged by the storm. It provides the space for the storm, but it remains untouched. Birdie became the lighthouse keeper. While the waves crashed against the rocks below, the keeper sat high above, watching the turbulence without fear. You are the awareness in which your thoughts appear. You are not the thinker. You are the witness. When a thought of fear arises, do not fight it. Simply look at it and say, "Not me." By stepping back into the position of the observer, you reclaim your power from the chaos. And now, we return to the source. In a cottage overlooking a stormy sea, Caleb paced the floor, a seeker exhausted by the search. He had mastered every technique. He had the vision boards, the journals, the crystals, yet he felt empty. One night, as thunder shook the house, he surrendered. And in that silence, the ultimate truth washed over him. He was not the seeker. He was the thing he was searching for. This is the forbidden knowledge unveiled. You are not a human trying to manifest spiritual power. You are consciousness playing a game of forgetting. Think of a dreamer. When you dream at night, you create a whole world, cities, people, monsters. But who created them? You did. Yet inside the dream, you think you are just a character running from the monster. Manifestation is simply waking up inside the dream and realizing you are the dreamer. A sage in the East burst into laughter while watching the sunrise. His students asked why. "I have been like a fish swimming desperately in search of water," he said. "Never realizing I am already swimming in what I seek." You are swimming in the divine potential. You are the ocean in a drop. You don't need to attract anything because there is nothing outside of you. It is all you. The mirror of reality has never judged you. It has only ever revealed you. Your emotions were never punishments. They were tuners. Now you know. You aren't learning to create. You are remembering that you are creation. The journey was never about acquiring. It was about awakening. This is where the rubber meets the road. You have the knowledge, but your vessel must be able to hold it. Here is the secret that accelerates everything. Your nervous system is the antenna. If your nervous system is locked in survival mode, it rejects the frequency of abundance, no matter how hard you visualize. You must regulate the biological receiver to broadcast the quantum signal. If you are ready to stop seeking and start being, if you are ready to reset the antenna and step into your power as the dreamer, then this is your moment. Subscribe to the channel, not just to watch a video, but to lock in this frequency. Leave a single word in the comments below, a word that represents the energy you are choosing to embody right now. Make that your signature in the quantum field. And finally, Check the resource on resetting your nervous system, because that is the missing link that turns this wisdom into physical reality. You are the universe dreaming itself into being. Now, go and dream beautifully.